Welcome everybody to Family Gaming. Today we're going to be going over Skyrim and which element is actually the best when it comes to a destructive mage build. So first we're going to start off with fire. So destruction in general is going to have a higher base rate in destruction with the dark elf. The high elf does have the most magic pool, which does help when it comes to destruction and any other magic, of course. But we're going to be focusing on destruction mainly, so we're going to go with the dark elf. And we're going to become the goddess that you see here. And we'll get started.
Another refugee? Gods really have abandoned your people, Dark Elf. Captain, what should we do? She's not on the list.
Forget the list.
Oh boy, I'm gonna kill you. You're
By
rude.
your orders, Captain. I'm sorry. We'll make sure your remains return to Morrowind.
Now, the nice thing about the Dark Elf is that because the destruction is already at 25, you also start with sparks. You also have the flames, which everybody starts with the flame spell. And you do start with sparks, but even if you didn't, you could get the book down by the mage that's locked in the cage that they already killed, because they are sick bastards. Anyway, we killed the captain, as we promised.
Maybe one of these Imperials had the key.
Now, to start any mage build, the three stones here, one is the mage stone, which you're going to click on. You get a 20% boost to all of your magic perks. So you're going to level up faster while we do some traveling until we reach the actual stone that we want to reach. Because although boosting our destruction and all of our other perks are going to be good, of course, to me the most important thing to any mage build is actually having enough magic. So later on we will walk over to get the Atronach stone. Now, as you can tell by the bandits we murdered, we are going to be starting off with the flame spell. Now the flames is going to be a little bit more complicated than the others. You do have the augmented flames along with the novice destruction. Those are obviously going to help your flames, but what we really need is over an illusion, which I will show you guys here. It is at 10 damage. Now if we go into our skill chart, we go over to illusion. You do need it at 50. But if you go up here to Aspect of Terror and you put a perk point into there, plus with the 1 in Augmented Flames, our flame spell is already going to be up at 22. So I went from 10 to 22 from just putting in the perk to Aspects of Terror. And as you can see here, we got attacked by these hired thugs, but our flames were so hot that they missed their swings. One connected, but then the rest of them missed their swings, and then they kind of just chilled out at the bottom. You get it? They were so hot that they had to chill. Alright, -1 for me. Sorry about that. And here is going to be the Atronach stone, where you do get a 100 to your magicka, and also you have a spell absorption, which does come in handy because the fire spells, so flames in particular, they do have the least amount of magicka used per second. So with a bigger magicka pool, you can just hold it and wait for everybody to die, which is the biggest bonus to the flame spell as opposed to the frostbite and the shock. Damage, it is going to take a little bit of a hit when it comes to damage. However, if you utilize that Aspect of Terror, which we showed earlier, it actually does boost it way beyond what it originally states when you just put in the two augmented flames. When you get that 50% bonus on the second perk. So here we are, just so everybody knows, we do play on expert, so the damage that you see if you're playing in adept, it will be greater than what I'm producing here, but on expert you can see it is very viable to even just use just a flame spell. I do bust out the firebolt, and later on we're going to use ignite and Solstheim. I'm trying not to, when you get the ring to use ignite, it's probably the best spell in the game as far as damage per second and the magicka cost per second. when you put those two things together, you're going to get the best result. However, I'm trying not to use it in case people don't have the DLC, even though pretty much everybody probably has it at this point. Just to be safe, we're going to focus on more of the base game, magicka, so that it seems a little bit more fair. So here we are with the fireball. Got him. Now this dragon and I are going to measure whose fire is hotter, and of course mine wins. Oh, that's not fair, you bit me. Got your back. Sorry, dragon. Now, as you can see, as time goes on, the flame spells, as you dual wield them, they are absolutely perfect, and they don't cost a lot of magic. Like I said, that's the biggest boost. Oh boy, fire sucks.
Okay, next we're going to move on to Frost, but first I want to warn you that Frost is going to last as long as this dragon did. For some reason he dropped in the middle of Winterhold, and a bunch of mages destroyed him. So first I want to remind everybody that this is Skyrim. It is literally a mountainous area filled with frost, so naturally, of course, the enemies are going to be frost resistance. So, we're going to try to do frost damage, but I warn you, spoiler alert, frost damage sucks. Most things have a 50% resistance to frost, or 100% immunity to frost. So, we're not going to do any damage. I'll just let you watch. In case anybody is wondering, Draugr are Nords, so they do have a 50% resistance to frost, which is why this is taking me forever to kill this thing. You all saw that, right? I pegged the ghost twice in the chest, and it took 0 damage. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, ghosts are 100% resistant to frost. Now let's rewind that back, but we're going to try using Frostbite instead of the ice spikes. Buckle up, everybody, we're going to be here a while. Now, I don't want it to sound like I'm just hating on Frost. It does stink, but I'll talk about the positives. When you are fighting things that do get affected by stamina damage, Frost does come in handy because it slows them down. Other than that, it's dog water. Now let's move on to Shock. Now Shock is one of those in-betweens, okay? It is very situational. When you're fighting mages, Shock comes in handy. And nothing really has a resistance to Shock. However, due to the illusion skill helping out the fire damage, it does make fire rather broken. So of course fire is going to win. However, not all is bad. Shock does come in handy. Like I said, against mages, you will drain their magicka. And also, if you get the chain lightning, you can hit multiple enemies at once. So of course, if you're in a crowd and you have chain lightning, you can possibly take out 2, 3, or 4 at a time, which is pretty useful. However, as I mentioned before, Shock is going to use the most magicka as far as the other two are concerned. Fire uses the least, Frost is in between, and then you have Shock that usually is a couple points more. So do keep in mind that if you are going to run a Shock build, you're going to need a ton of magicka, more so than if you do Frost or Fire.
I don't know, Trough.
Don't hurt me.
Alright, Iron Fist, meet Emperor Palpatine. And Iron Fist won. Yeah, lightning is trash too. Yet again, I don't want to sound like I'm just hating on lightning. So I will say that when you are fighting Jogger, it actually seems to be pretty strong against them, as you can see here. Look at that sneaky bastard. I see ya. Peekaboo! Nice try. So all in all, just a quick recap. When you use the aspect of terror in the illusions perk to go along with your fire damage, and you max out the fire damage and the destructive perk, you will have substantially more damage than you do with lightning or frost. But I did find a use for frost. Here we are in Solstheim, because everything's fire resistance. You use your frostbite and everything frost, and you will finally get some kills. I did it, ladies and gentlemen. I made frost viable. Oh boy, never mind. See you guys.